So we have hit the trifecta of dumb legislation in a week. All right, there's three things now that have hit my radar screen. Here's the latest of them. From Robyn Porter, Assemblywoman from New Haven. New Haven's a fountain of very bad legislation of late. Here it is, a bill to prevent age discrimination at the application stage. She wants to have all employers, private and public, not be able to put in a slot for how old you are or what your graduation year was, okay? So how effective is that going to be if an employer actually wanted to discriminate based on age? A dubious proposition. Let's say an employer wants to only get younger people. So here comes this legislation. You've got no inclination, no entry on the resume that shows age. At some point, there's something called an interview. Yes, face to face. So at that point, within probably 10 years, you know about how old the applicant is, all right? Nancy Pelosi, with her Botox, might be able to fake it by the 15 or 20 years. She looked great. But almost everybody, their age is going to get discerned pretty easily. Let's say Robyn Porter goes further. Oh, you can't even have face-to-face interviews. No, so now it's by phone. Ages by phone are somewhat determined as well. How about going further, Robyn? Ask about college? Can't do that because that might show some sort of privileged background. We can't have that. Can't ask for an applicant's address because an address could show national origin in some place, and then a bad employer would say they're being discriminated against. Can't ask to be interviewed by phone. Who's going to show up after all this long application? Maybe an accomplished, good-looking resume, good grades in school, 13-year-old. Okay, who wants that? Maybe a few employers do. Give them the choice. The legislature wants to eviscerate choice. They don't want employee and employer to be in normal negotiations because they prefer the power of government control instead. Employers use good self-judgment, okay? Far better than the judgment of a very remote General Assembly member. Let me ask, in Connecticut, in the last century, when has someone not been hired based on age? I mean, yes, there's a presumption, a reasonable one, that with older, there might be a little less energy. Okay, but for every employer that needs an energetic person who'll stand on their feet for 8 straight hours a day, there's another employer, like me, who prefers somebody who is wise, who has been in the trenches, understands customer service better than the youngster, understands responsibility, has had so many experiences under his or her belt. I'm a very good example. I've hired 10 people for this staff in my office, 4 of them from the seniors job bank. Yes, my first 2 employees I recruited 17 years ago, and they're still with me. 2 more employees more recently, and they're still with me. Age has merit to many employers. And if you think we just have to eviscerate age, well, why do you even make legislation about whether a 14-year-old can work after school? We got oodles of laws governing that in the first place. Look, the reason why discrimination, age discrimination, has gotten this far is because in corporate America, age often carried with it a very high salary. And laws, not so good laws, kept you from diminishing somebody's salary. So you had to keep somebody on when in a free marketplace, the right move is, hey, we want you, but with only 80% of the dollars because you're only 80% as effective as before. That is a reasonable scheme, better than schemes from government that are going to keep some people from being hired in the first place. The whole point about legislation based on age, race, sex is a presumption, and it's a wrong one, that employers are ageist or racist or sexist. If that's true, these are stupid employers, because then they're giving up on better employees who are female or African American, and their competitors are hiring them. So they'll get punished in the marketplace. Bottom line, you don't need legislation that's A, not very workable, and B, gets in the way of good private market transactions.